When you can make people laugh, it's almost like a superpower. It took me a while to get my family on my side, so I had to like work double shifts in a way. When you are a Netflix artist, it adds to your resume. People start taking you more seriously. Stand up comedy, if you believe that it only makes people laugh, then you won't last long. In comedy, my focus is to tell you a joke which you can take back home. Next day morning, when you wake up, you should still think about it. 3 months later, the same thing when it happens with you, you are like, oh my god, this is exactly what he was saying.
Hello everyone and welcome to Indulge. Today we have with us one of the leading comedians in India, Amit Tandon, aka The Married Guy. Hello Amit,
Hi, Hina, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Amit, before we begin the interview, I want to know how did you get this title of The Married Guy?
So this was, when I started doing comedy, most of the guys who were doing comedy at that time were pretty young. They were normally 22, 23-year-old guys. And I was 35 at that time. I already had, kids. Was married for quite some time. So a lot of my jokes used to be around my life, as a married person. So they started introducing me as the married guy of comedy in Delhi, and somehow the title just stuck, and it's still around.
Since you were one of the older guys, did it ever bother you? Just when you were starting, is this the right time? Is it too late? Or would people connect with me because everyone else is too young?
Yeah, so the first few months were tough, but I enjoyed it honestly because you suddenly it's also how you take it. A lot of times one would be like, "What am I doing among all these young guys?" But for me, it was more like, okay, I get to relive a lot of things of my youth again because I'm starting something new completely that I know nothing about. So that kind of helped me a lot in my profession because I saw so many energetic young people around me and me competing with them for spots and stuff. It For me somehow it worked. I didn't like let my thing come in that I'm older than you. So as if you keep that away, you can feed off the energy of younger people. So work for me.
When you gave comedy a shot, you were pretty much settled in your professional life as well as in your personal life. Was there a particular moment that made you feel that, I should give comedy a shot?
So I started comedy as a hobby. Initially, I was just doing it because I had an HR consulting firm. We had 40 people working for us. It was doing fairly well. So this was supposed to be just a hobby, just something that I could do in addition to it. But then slowly I realized there was, good money to be made. You could make money, and when you can make people laugh, it's almost like a superpower. You feel that when you get on stage and you can make 50 or 100 people in a room laugh for an hour. uh, so I used to feel very good when I would do that. And then when I realized I could make money, then I was like, if I can use this to make money, then why look at anything else? Okay, it took me a while to get my family on my side, so I had to like work double shifts in a way because I was running the company and doing my comedy by the side. And I finally had like, my aim was to take my comedy to a level where I was making as much money from comedy as I was making from my business, so that I could justify why I can, leave the business. So it was a tough 4 or 5 years when I had to balance both the sides. But once I was at a certain level in 2017, where I could convince my wife, my parents, that yes, we are at that stage that at least for the next 7 8 years, I'll make more money or probably as much money from comedy as I'm making from my business. Then they were like, okay, now we can do it. So those are 4 5 tough years when you had to do both the things together.
And what made you choose observational comedy?
It's actually a bit of both because I was trying everything, doing a lot of things which were like, trying to tell simple jokes, then observational comedy. And then I realized that observational comedy somehow stuck with people more, especially, maybe it came to me naturally also, because what happens is you try to tell your own story and then you realize everybody else also goes through the same issues. Okay. and and what happens with comedy is that, if I say that, if stand up comedy, if you believe that it only makes people laugh, then you won't last long. I'll tell you why. Because you know today in comedy there is enough competition. You get 50 jokes on WhatsApp every day. You read them, you laugh at them, but in the evening you forget about them. Okay. So in comedy, my focus is to tell you a joke which you can take back home. Next day morning when you wake up, you should still think about it. 3 months later, the same thing when it happens with you, you are like, oh my god, this is exactly what he was saying. So for that, your joke has to have more than just being a funny joke. It has to be relatable. It has to has some story around it. So that's where I think this observational comedy worked for me, because whatever I talked about, people are like, "Oh my god, this is exactly what happened with me in a five-star hotel." This is how we think when we go to a hotel, or this is what we do on Facebook. What you are talking about. So it it was more like trial and error, and this worked for me. So now kind of stuck to it, but now evolving it further.
Since you mentioned you do a lot of jokes about family, I want to know, how does your family, your wife, your children react to the things you say on stage? And have you ever found yourself in trouble when you've gone back home?
Not really. They're very chill that way. So my wife and my kids, although my kids would complain once in a while that you're saying everything, because a lot of their teachers also follow my jokes and stuff. But otherwise they're chill, because I told them, you are the only two kids in your school who've been on Netflix, so you you better not complain about this.
Talking about Netflix special, how did you feel when it premiered? How was the initial reaction of everybody around you, including your children and your relatives?
It was fantastic. It's like, you know for somebody who at the age of 35 had no plan of getting into comedy. Now, in 8 or 9 years you get on the biggest platform in comedy today, probably Netflix. It was fantastic, and it got a great reaction. So in that special, what I'm also doing is that I was going beyond just telling jokes or doing observational comedy. I was trying to give a message out. And when that started hitting people and people reacted to it, not just saying that it was very funny, but also, we agree with what you're saying, it was fantastic. Like, I'm done now. If so I don't have a bucket list anymore. There's not much left to do. So that's what the feeling was at that time. Very happy.
And what did it do for you in your career?
So far what was happening was that I was putting up everything on YouTube, which meant that I was earning my own fan base or viewership. Okay, so my subscribers were people who knew me and they watched my videos further or came because of me. But with Netflix, what happens is it gives you a ready-made platform of viewers. So a lot of people who didn't know my comedy or hadn't seen my comedy, they got to see me. Okay. And second, definitely, when you are a Netflix artist, it adds to your resume. People start taking you more seriously. It opens more venues for you in terms of other platforms or other people who want to know. They are more open to listening to you when you take to them other forms of your creations. So like right now I'm working on a book. I'm working on 2 3 different series. So a lot of that work, people are it opens more door for you when you move from just being a YouTube artist to a platform artist like a Netflix.
And tell me more about these work that you're working on, your book, your web series. I heard there is some film. What's
Yeah,
in the
so the
pipeline?
movie story I have written, it's the screenplay is under development right now. So I've got a couple of people working with me on the screenplay. I'm working on a couple of series. I can't disclose much because we have non-disclosure agreements in place. But in 2021, you would see me across a few OTT platforms where I have written and I have performed. So, and it's not stand up alone. It's going beyond that. And then there's a passion project that I have, is which is around partition. I've worked on it for 4.5 years now. What I find weird is that whenever we've talked about partition, we've looked at just one part of partition in India. We've not really seen what was the impact of partition on the the socio-political landscape, the family structures, and all of that. And there's so much to explore there, and so I'm trying to do that. That's something that I really want to bring forward. It's not all comedy, but it's not in the same zone of tragedy that we've seen so far. So
One thing which is very interesting about your work so far is that you refrain from using cuss words. Is it a conscious decision?
it's how it happened was that in the first 1 year I've used cuss words. Honestly, when I was doing open mics, I've used them a few times. But at that time, I was performing in bars. Then what happened was, when I like started doing longer sets and in bigger venues, uh, since I had kids of my own already and I was living with my parents, I realized that I couldn't use a cuss word if there was an audience, particular people who are like 65, 70 plus. I just like couldn't. It won't come out of my mouth. And I realized that I would end up dropping sets, a lot of funny pieces because there were cuss words in it. So then I decided that maybe I should write clean comedy. At least then I'm not stressed about, who's there in the audience, who's not there in the audience. So that was like, for me, it was my comfort zone. But then I realized it was a great marketing strategy also, honestly, because, now people could watch me with anybody. They could forward my videos to anybody without thinking twice, So it worked as a marketing ploy also, honestly.
Without saying ki do wear your earphones while watching this video.
Yeah, you don't have to say anything on that one.
Okay. I want to know more about the web series and the scripts that you've developed. Are they going to be the comedy space? Are they going to be drama space?
Yeah, so one series is in the comedy space, okay, but comedy, but it's more satire. It's not just funny, but it's satire. It's trying to say something. And the other one is, we're working on something which is in the, which tries to look at the middle age crisis in a, in a cosmopolitan city. How it is, when you are in your 40s, you are, between two generations. There are your parents and then there are your kids. You're responsible for both those generations, but both those generations don't listen to you. They both feel you're stupid, and then you have your extra pressures of, how your marriage is evolving. So there's something that I'm trying to write in that domain, uh, trying to like keep it partly funny but still bring out the issues that happen every day in, in a, in a middle age, like when you have achieved all the, in terms of money, you've achieved everything, but there are other struggles that you have now in your life.
Hmm. Okay. We wish you all the best and we're looking forward to watching these web series. Thank you so much.
Thank you.